This is Protocol One. I'm James Nielsen Watt. If you are successful but not fulfilled, you're running industrial age software on space age hardware. It's time for an upgrade. Don't settle.
Hi, Rosha. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you jumping on. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
I'd love it if you can just let our audience know a bit of your backstory. Who are you and what are some of the things that you've been doing lately? And yeah, give us some context.
All right. So I'm Rosha Entezari. I live in California, Orange County, California. Originally from Iran, moved here to the US 13 years ago. And I come from different backgrounds. So I've been in finance for over 22 years. And I also have an MBA in marketing. So what I do is I help businesses make more money. We developed a software that turns financial data or financial statements into understandable dashboards for business owners to be able to make informed decisions.
Yeah. What made you go down that route? Like, were you always interested in finance and numbers? Do you think it was a good job at the time? Like, what was the thought?
No. So I kind of like in Iran, the way that like I got my bachelor's in accounting and I got an MBA in marketing, but in Iran you have to choose before you actually know what you want to do and what you like to do. I was always really good at math and I love math, but I also wanted to become a doctor. But different story from other Persian families or parents that they forced their kids to become a doctor. I wanted to become a doctor. My dad didn't want me to become a doctor. The next option was either software engineer or accounting because, you know, I knew that accounting, wherever you go, you always, learn something that is always useful. And basically, I got into finance and accounting. And at the beginning, there was no passion, but I was really good at it, really good at it. But I never really enjoyed it that much. Before I moved here, I used to work at a really good company, like the best, biggest non-governmental company, like as if you work for, let's say, Facebook, Google, these type of companies here in the US. So I was working there and I really liked it. But then I moved to the US and I kind of had to prove myself again, start from scratch again. And through that, I actually started from a lower wage compared to what I knew and my knowledge and everything. I had to learn my way up and learn how to go up the corporate ladder in the US and all of that until I went to Tony's event. March 2017, I went to UPW. I always loved Tony. When I was like 12 or 13, my dad forced me to read one of his books and I always loved learning from him. And the moment I realized, oh, he is in California and he has an event, I was like, I want to go. At that time, paying like 700 for a general ticket was so much money for us, but we did it. I mean, my husband bought it for me as a gift and it changed my life. My husband has always been very supportive of, everything for me, but I was new to this country, so I had to start almost from scratch. If you want, I'm happy to tell you the story of, how much money I had and I came here and how everything went. But long story short, the financial side of it, going from almost no money, no credit to where we are today, plus going to Tony's event when I thought I finally made it in a you know, corporate ladder. And now I have my office, my corner office, I have my salary, I have my, workload. A job is really little. It's not much. So I was like, yes, I made it. But then I went to Tony's event and I realized, there is something more. I realized I'm here on earth to make an impact, do something before my time is up. So I combined the two. I became super passionate about helping other people make more money because I absolutely believe that if we have a good heart, we will, and we have more money, we'll do more good for the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that you help no one when you have no resources. Like there isn't virtue in being poor. There is just some of us who are poor and need help. But that doesn't mean that it's sort of virtuous in that we somehow should not have money because that makes us good. And I think that often we're told that it's sort of a way to pander to the feelings of those who have who don't have, who are going without. But in the same way, someone who has a bad relationship isn't more virtuous than someone who has a good relationship, or someone who has, who's overweight or underweight or whatever compared to somebody who goes to the gym. The reality is that the top in anything is somebody who's always committed to that process beyond other things in their life. That's why the top 10% are the happiest, the most like of people. If you're looking at all people, there are 10% who are really happy. And then there's everybody else. In relationships, there's 10% with good relationships, and then there's everybody else. And so the success always filters to the top. And I think especially with money, it's a good point that, because most crime is not committed by wealthy people. It's committed by people who don't have money, because it isn't, it's correlated with lack of money, because that creates struggle, and struggle creates, needs and desires that, can often lead to crime. So it's not to punish those without money, but it's to say, hey, just because you have money doesn't mean you're bad. And I really want to drive that point home, because the culture of that is what's keeping people stuck, because with resource, you can make change. So if you are a good person, you need to go and get resources, because then you can go and do more good stuff. And nobody with no money helped anybody with no money. You know what I mean? It's the people with money that have gone and built things and made things and helped people and progressed medicine and progressed education and progressed, human rights, etc. So yeah, we all need to have more money if we have good intentions, is my view. Yeah. So run me through a little bit about the work that you do. And you said you've got a software, but you help businesses. Is it large businesses? Is it small businesses? A combination? What is it that you do sort of in your business?
Yeah, so we help businesses. I mean, numbers work the same way. We can help any business, but in order for us to have a better, more profitable, easier to run business, we work with businesses who are making over $5 million in revenue. And it can be any type of business, but one of them are manufacturing companies, because normally they have a lot of complexity. They have different product lines. Each product line has different products. There are different things. Should we purchase something like imported? Should we have it built here in our factory? So many different decisions are there for the COOs or CEOs to make. And our tool helps them make better decisions to both add to their profits and also to their revenue. So, and have more cash, because that's the blood of the company, right? Like oxygen of the company even. So those are our most favorite, but we can help any type of businesses. We've helped, doctors, plastic surgeons, architects, people in real estate, restaurants, different types of businesses. But manufacturings are one of the more complicated or more complex businesses, and I love it for that.
I feel like I understand your targeting there. I like to work with businesses with our advisory work where they are sitting on a gold mine. They just don't have the tools to access it, because it's much easier to come in and go do this, this, and this, and suddenly that they can get a win really quickly and really grow, where it's much harder to work with those who are trying to build the gold mine, so to speak, or find the gold, or is there gold in my land, metaphorically? Because without product market fit, without databases, without opportunity, you're now trying to create opportunity rather than unlocking opportunity. And so it would make sense in manufacturing. I can see that. And especially the 5 million plus businesses, you can walk in and there's a playbook to unlock a lot of value in those businesses. Yeah. I'd love if you could speak a little bit to, if I got this correct, you do fractional CFO work as well?
Yeah, so we do fractional. So this is how actually we got to the software. So we've been doing fractional CFO services, and then it was just, a lot of, I've been in finance for too long to see a lot of patterns and a lot of things. And one thing that people ask me constantly was like, can you guys use AI? Can someone create something like with AI that can help make this easier to understand? And I also see a lot of people don't like numbers. They love making money, but they don't enjoy looking at numbers. And that's kind of hard to, if you want to make money, you need to understand the language of business, which is numbers and money. So, and like almost 4 or 5 years ago, I developed an app for smaller businesses, mostly coaches or businesses who have only a few limited number of products or services, to be able to track their revenue and generate more revenue. gamified it. There were so much joy in creating that app. And then, I got busy with everything else, our other businesses. And just past like 7-8 months ago, this thought of, what, maybe we can create something for the financial side, for fractional CFO services, to bring some AI to it, to use it and make it better and faster and more understandable. And that's how the software thing started. And then the first version of it, I showed it to one of our, previous clients, and he was like, Rosha, this is still Chinese to me. I don't get it. And he helped me just with this sentence. He helped me so much, because now it's not Chinese anymore. It's very understandable. It's not hard for owners to see. And we even make decisions for them. We give them top priorities. We tell them, this is what you need to focus on. And this is the person who's responsible for it, this department. And this is the goal. And this is how to get it done. So like ready to go.
Because when you start a business, most people, at least that I've talked to, are starting from a place of, I like the product or the problem, and they're just doing the thing. And then it becomes successful enough that they're hiring people. And then now they're trying to build systems to manage those people. And it's just kind of like, I'll just delegate away my stuff. Like with us, we talk about profit process people. And what most people do is they get some profit going, they're making some money, and then they hire people to solve problems. And it creates a gap, because you can't just hand a person the problem and go fix it. Even if you're paying a lot of money for those things, for those people, you hire Google's top whatever, that isn't going to solve your problem, especially if you're an early stage business. You need to have processes that are followed. You've built them, you've proven them, and then you can have a person take over the thing you're doing. And then later on, you're buying intelligence on the business layers, rather than saying, well, I don't know how to do this, so hey, marketing person, go do this. Hey, finance person, go do this. It just never works that I've seen. And so you don't get to this point in business by doing that well. But at the same time, you're also not taught these things. You figure them out through trial and error. And so you start to understand, like, oh man, running a business is more than just, can I get a sale? Running a business is more than, can I put a system in or hire a person? Like it is an organism, right? Organization of people working towards a goal. And systems are a part of that. And now these days, AI is a big part of that, because we can optimize the output of our people. We can also replace redundancy. Like there's a lot of hires that people have that are just there to kind of catch stuff and do things. And AI is great for that. But yeah, we don't learn this stuff, especially the finance. We kind of just go, if I keep selling, it'll be fine. And it's kind of like maybe in the short term, but not a long-term strategy. I love what you said about hating numbers. I have a mantra, which is I love numbers and numbers love me. And I get my clients to do the same thing, because it's that thing that especially as you get bigger and larger, the snowball catches up with you when you haven't done your numbers well. How are you guys using AI with this? Because for someone like me who uses a lot of AI, I would just take financial reports and stick them into Claude Fable now and just say, hey, what's going on? What do I do? And then I can ask the right questions and I can iterate with it to figure out a plan. But for the average person who's not using AI, that's a big thing. They don't know how to ask the questions, but also they don't know how to interpret the response. I'm assuming that your platform frames it through your CFO lens, so that the information that they're receiving is understandable and also aligned with your best practices.
Yes. So that's when we turn from Chinese to understandable language, because now we have a toggle on our software that it says CFO. So you see CFO view, and then you click on it, it turns to owner view. So it turns all the financial jargons to plain English, to something that an owner uses. Because I worked with so many people, and I know a lot of owners actually, they just feel bad to say they don't understand something. And they just pretend that they do understand it. They don't even feel okay to tell their CFOs that, can you explain this to me? Like, why? Like the CFO explains something, the owner might not understand it, but they feel bad telling the CFO, I didn't get it. So because I've been in corporate for so long, I've seen it for so long, and I always loved to make everything more clear and simple to understand. So the software does the same thing. So yes, we get your financial information, but we know what type of, what information, because you don't want mass information. You want the most important things that will matter in your decision making to be there. So what we do, our software alone can give you so much data, but we're not looking to give you more data. We're looking to give you an easy way and clear way to be able to make decisions. You look at it, you know exactly what to do. Like sometimes, especially if the business is complex, it's hard to say, should I make this part and add it to this and import that and do like complex data? And some of the data are not from accounting system. And we have the possibility to connect to, if you have an ERP system or any CRM or any sales system, we can get the data from all those areas and integrate them into our system to give you clarity, so that for example, my salesperson in that date is giving away too much discount. Maybe the good thing is to do let's say training with my other salesperson who's doing great for all the rest that are not doing good, or this one that specifically gives too much discount to be able to sell, really specific into details type of a thing to tell you this is what to do. And we prioritize it for them, and we only give them 3 things at a time so that we don't overwhelm them with anything.
Yeah. So you're pulling in sales data, you're pulling in all the data that you can to be able to analyze it in context?
Yes, whatever is needed. So first we talk to the owner to understand because I used to be a business coach and consultant, and I also have an MBA in marketing. We even do marketing, social media marketing services. So I have an understanding of the business side, because a lot of times CFOs and people in finance, they are introverts. They're not business people. They're normally, their answer to your question is no. Should I do this? No, because it costs you money, right? The better answer sounds like no. But in a CEO mindset, COO mindset, like business mindset, the answer is, what's the ROI? What's my return on investment? And then you decide, okay, and then how long does it take for me to get this much? What are the chances for me to get this much? Okay, yes, let's do it, right? So we combine that understanding with the knowledge of finance and accounting, and then these two go together, and it's a business decision-making engine, not necessarily financial. So if we need your sales info, if we need our other things from you based on your business, we connect to those data as well.
Yeah, because there is theory and then there is truth. And in the finance space, my experience has been operating a lot in theory, because everyone needs an accountant, for example. And so it's like dentists. So dentists were always my difficult healthcare clients because they have no competition other than other dentists. And so there's no need necessarily to be particularly good at marketing and other things in the same way that, say, a chiropractor or a naturopath has to, because there's no competition and people are in life-altering pain. And so when you have no other option and you've got big pain, you'll pay whatever and you'll go and do it. And so you can nerd out on the mechanics of what you're doing rather than the business stuff, but your business can still be wildly successful. Whereas in a competitive market with a less painful problem or a more obscure problem that isn't very specific, like, for example, if I'm just not feeling good, it's like, what do I do about that? You know what I mean? There has to be good marketing and sales that gets me to understand what my problem is, to be willing to actually go and solve the thing, because I'm just not feeling good, versus like my tooth, take it out or like fix it. You know what I mean? And so I find the same thing with accountants, lawyers, is that there's no competition. And so you can nerd out on your thing. But for me, it's like I said, truth versus theory. And all of this is advisement. The reality is often different than what your accountant says is good for your business, because they're not looking at things holistically and they're not looking at ROI, and they're not, it's like, I had a client once say that their accountant said they should stop the advisory stuff that we're doing because it's costing them a lot of money. And I said, you have 10x'd your business in the last 18 months. If that's your accountant's advice, you should fire them, because they're not connecting the dots properly, because they're, I digress. But it's like, you don't take the battery out of the clock to stop time. You don't stop marketing to save money, because if it's ROI positive, it's costing you money, not putting more money in. I like that. Yeah, we've built custom platforms for our own businesses to sort of take the load off a lot of those things, where we can analyze the data. For example, we have salespeople, and so we port in all of their CRM numbers, calling results, etc., and we correlate it with marketing, and then their output, and then the results they're getting, And then we can also pull their call recordings and analyze them in context of the data to be able to say, hey, this person is good at getting them to answer the phone because they double dial and they ring more people. But this person is better at carrying the conversation on. So their effectiveness is greater per lead than this person's. And then we find the commonalities between those and what this person's doing over that person. Because Tony Robbins talks about that with optimization, maximization, right? It's like, how can I find a couple things that I can improve? Because if you can improve 7 things by 10%, you'll double the output of that system, right? 10% more dials, 10% more answers, 10% more conversations, 10% more bookings. If you just stack small 10%, and 10%, when I say this, it's not like I go from a 20% conversion to a 30% conversion. That's a 50% improvement. We're talking about relative improvement, not absolute. So we go up by 2%. And when you realize that, a business owner goes, oh, I don't have to change that much by that much to make a substantial improvement in the throughput or output if I can stack those things together. So that's we're using a lot of AI to do those things. What are some CFO tricks though? Like, why, sort of, for lack of a better term, pitch me on the value of a CFO. Like, what does it add? When I've got things like Claude and Fable and I can just kind of plug in and say, hey, act like a CFO and do this. What do you think those things are missing that you can't replace just yet with a CFO? Like, I'll give you a good example for the audience. Like, I can go to my AI and I can give it a collection of symptoms and it can tell me most likely what it could be based on the statistics and the presentation, etc. But medicine is a little bit more than just that. There's nuance to it. But most of the job is that. I'd be interested to see your perspective around finance and where the AIs are not quite there yet.
I would say, and this is a great question, James, and I think analytical mind, AI can see the patterns, can analyze the logic, but having it comes from experience. I would say even the difference between different CFOs come from their experience. A lot of people stay even in the same industry. For example, this CFO used to be an accountant in real estate industry, and then they became financial manager, assistant controller, CFO, still in the same industry. So you're only amazing in real estate because all your point of references are real estate related or fund related or whatever, entertainment. But when you work in different industries and when you see different things work in a different way in different industries, then you can pick one thing from one industry, bring it to another industry, and maybe nobody has done it before. And to you, it comes natural when you've done it for so long. It just comes to your mind as an idea and it's so obvious to you, but it's not obvious to the person who's been only in, let's say, one industry. Another thing is like to see the big picture and be able to, have you ever had this conversation? Sometimes I get to a fight with my AIs like Claude or ChatGPT even more. And I'm like, how come you never thought about this idea? Like, then I tell them my idea and they're like, oh, that's a great idea. I'm like, of course it is a great idea, but I wish you would come up with a better idea than that because I was looking for something outside of the box, something that I didn't give you any background about it. And you can think of it and bring it here, but they can't yet. So maybe for now, I would say the most important thing is the analytical mind and the solutions that they give you. If a solution is copy paste of a similar solution from a similar industry, similar company, sure, but you're not getting, that much value out of it. You probably could, your CFO probably can give you that information. If you have an in-house CFO, they can give you that data. But like our system can also even help CFOs. So even if you have a CFO, actually, our next goal is to actually target CFOs and work with the CFOs, give the software to the CFOs of the company and do trainings for them so they become even better at what they do.
I think part of it too is that everything's still like we are humans with technology. And so whether or not the LLM, the AIs can technically do it, it comes down to time, focus, and your prompting ability. Like my ability to produce something, a result or a website or whatever might be greater than somebody else, even though it's the same engine, because of my clarity on what I want and my ability to ask questions, to spot gaps. Like there's the you would have seen these videos where people go into ChatGPT or whatever. They're like, make me rich. Tell me how to make $1 million. You know what I mean? Like it's a joke, but people are doing this because they don't understand the intricacies of what comes next. And I think it's the same thing with all professional services, is that they will be, a lot of the redundancies will be replaced. Like I've got lawyer friends that are just using AI to do stuff. So me paying for a contract to be written up is asinine because I can get the AI to do it. And then I say to my lawyer friend, hey, can you analyze this and review and give me guidance? And then they're sticking it into their AIs that are proprietary, that the law people have to keep away from everyone else so that we don't just use them instead of lawyers. But then there is still the fact that you need a human in the loop because of the way that the laws work, or the way that accounting works, or the fact that nothing is actually that logical. It's just a series of things slapped together, and you got to understand the nuances there. So I think that the real value is AI is tightening things up for professionals who have pretended that they know a lot of stuff and it's really complicated and really expensive, because AIs are coming in and going, no, it's not. It's like transcription services used to be expensive, and now it's literally not even cents on the dollar. It's like, it's basically free for a lot of them, depending on how big the file is. And so those industries kept a gate that has now been teared down because of these technologies. And so CFOs, good example of that would be, do you actually have insights that are valuable, that are adversarial to the main narrative, so that you are remaining valuable to the businesses? Because as a founder, like, you can't do everything. So you've got to have people in your organization to trust. And especially the older generation, they aren't using these technologies in the way that they need to be. You know what I mean? Like, did you hire a developer, or did you guys vibe? This is a perfect example of it. I've vibe coded our platform entirely, and it's a very complicated AI algorithmic platform. But that's because that is my genius. So you could have done that, but you needed an expert to help you because of other things. And I think that all of us need to realize that, like, yes, technically it can do it, but that doesn't mean that we should just hand everything over to them. ChatGPT is not going to save your life. You know what I mean? I like what you said about different industries and there's different insights. I've worked across a few, and I've definitely pulled things from different industries to create a competitive advantage. What's your advice for people when they're in a stagnant industry, or they feel like their business is stagnant? How can they look to other industries to find opportunities to bring things over, to give them a competitive advantage?
I think whenever in anything that you're stuck, just looking at even documentaries, really, or watching videos on YouTube about other industries, how they do like random things can bring creativity to your business. So, because if you're just thinking about our business and the normal way of doing things, we probably just get normal results. But if we want extraordinary results, we need to bring something new. Right? All businesses is innovation and marketing. So the innovation part comes from being creative, and creativity, you can't force it. Like you gotta have an open mind. Sometimes maybe you're just talking to a totally different industry, or you're watching, how soccer ball is made and badminton is made, and things like that. And all of a sudden, from that and the process that they have, it just sparks a new idea in your brain. Things like that. For people who are stuck, I would just recommend watching. I love watching real movies that are based on true story from creative people. That helps me a lot. And sometimes I look for things. For example, something happens and I'm like, okay, what meaning can I give to this? And then all of a sudden that just brings something new. I don't know. This is something for me. I'm very curious to find something new in an ordinary thing. Like, just pay attention to details and just bring it to something totally different, using examples of a totally different industry in a totally different environment. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I think it was Elon Musk's ex-wife or something was saying something like that in an interview once, about if you want to be a billionaire or be as successful as Elon, it's like you've got to be really good in one thing, and then you've got to be really good in another thing, and you got to bring those things together to do it. You got to think about it differently, because if you just keep doing it the same old way, you'll get the same old results. And there's risk in that, because the same old way might produce a certain amount of result.
Yeah.
But it's your willingness to stretch and change that makes you an entrepreneur if you're actually trying to be successful. You can't manage your way to a really big business, is my view. Like because there's the three archetypes, right? Artist, manager, and entrepreneur. You can't manage your way to the top. You can manage a thing that an entrepreneur built, right? An artist can't get their way to the top either because it'll be all over the show. So they need someone to manage them. And then they need an entrepreneur who actually wants to market and sell and innovate and grow and push the boundaries. And then you want the artist to keep the vision and to keep the entrepreneur from just selling out completely, and the manager to keep everybody organized. And so within us, we have these archetypes where we're just more dominant in one over the other. And I think people often don't lean into their strength, but they also don't look to build systems and bring on people that honestly serve their weaknesses. Because innovation for innovation's sake won't help. Marketing for marketing's sake won't help. It's going to be tied back to numbers and am I getting the result? If I'm just like lifting weights, good example. I like this example because when it comes to money in business, there's always this feeling of like overnight success, you're lucky, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bullshit, screw you. I'm not lucky. I'm unlucky, all the problems I've had. I just keep going. But when you look at somebody who's ripped with a six pack and, big arms or whatever, you never say, oh, you're lucky, because you know what they had to do to get there. A person running a marathon, you're lucky. It's like, now, being the top carries luck and grace with it and genetics and things like that. But being better than 90% of people at that thing, it's just hard work. It's the next level that takes that gift. But when it comes to business and money, there's the immediate assumption, like we talked about at the start. One, you're bad. You've taken it from people. And like two, it's luck. And they miss the amount of work that goes into actually making things work and being successful. Can you speak to kind of change of tact here, but can you speak to like cash, revenue, and profit? This is a burning question that a lot of people ask me, and I have my answers, but I'd like to hear it from a professional. Why is it that you can have a business and you can be doing really well and the accountant says that you've made profit, but then you actually have no money to pay your taxes? What is that trap for people?
This is actually very common, very common. A lot of people make a lot of money, and at the end of the year, they have nothing left in their pocket. So the reason is, what is real is that cash, that money that you're looking for in your pocket at the end of the year, and you're like, where is it? So that is the purpose. That's the first goal. And I'm glad you asked that, because a lot of people really have this issue. So the revenue is what you make, really. And then on paper, let's say you sell a certain, let's say, services or a certain number of products. The total amount that you sold is your revenue. And you had some expenses. Some of them you paid, some of them you are gonna pay. And that these two minus each other is the profit you have. It's on paper. It's the profit you have, and it's on paper. But the cash is, okay, when I bought that thing, how did I pay for it? Where did I get the money? Did I really pay it, or I'm gonna pay it? Now, when I sold it, did I get paid, or I'm supposed to get paid at some point, or in installments? And if it's installments, am I getting any type of interest on it, or it's the same amount, divided by however many installments? Did I get a loan? What is the interest rate on that loan? And with that money, what am I doing, and what's my return on that money that I'm using? It was a loan. I got a loan. I'm working with it. How much am I making with this money? So all of these things are just those small things that eat the cash, and sometimes we don't pay attention to. And the best place to look at it is the statement of cash flow, which I can guarantee 90% of the people who are watching this podcast, or 90% of business owners, don't even have it, even look at it. They don't even know that such a thing exists. And their accounting team, they probably prefer not to make it if they know how to make it. But that's the most important thing. You need to be able to know, even if you have money, where did this money come from? Did this come from the business, from the operations activity? Did I, in my operation, did I make it? Or is it a loan and I have to return it at some point? Or, it's an investment. Somebody, gave me some money and I'm supposed to return, or I invested in something and this is, the money out. So, and accounts payable, accounts receivable, so many things. A lot of people don't pay attention. They pay their bills super fast, but they don't get paid super fast. It's so important, the way that you need to make money. Let's say Costco. Why Costco is like that? Why Costco is super profitable? You first have to become a member. You have to first pay for the whole year of membership. Then you can go shopping for 12 months. And each month, like you go and then instead of one, let's say body wash, you buy 3 at a time, right? Although you're paying less for each, but you're buying 3. In reality, you might not you might not go to Target and buy 3, you will buy 1, or 6 toothpastes or 12 toothbrushes, and things that we don't need. So why? Because they have the cash and they can use the cash to buy the products, but they don't even pay the vendors that early. So this cash is in my hands. I'm Costco. Cash is here. Everybody, I still have a lot of time to take some part of it and give it to my vendors and get away as a cashback or reward. So I have so much power because cash gives you power. Now I can use this cash, invest it in something else, let's say real estate. And this real estate I purchased, now we're going to build it. In 12 months, it's already sold. I have my profit. I pay them. I pay the vendors and everybody, for example. So this cash gave me so much power that it doesn't even show here, but it's in my hands. So this is how we need to think as business owners. We don't need to be as big as Costco, but pay your bills close to the due date, but get paid as fast as you can.
And pay off things slow. Yeah.
Exactly. A lot.
Yeah. I think the complication that I've observed typically working with smaller businesses is not understanding the difference between what is mine and what is the business's. And this is a trap that I fell into as well. It's like, I made this, and it's like, well, technically you made this because you did the work, but you didn't really make this. Your business made this, and then your business needs to pay you for employment. And the self-employment trap is that the money that was generated was what I made, and therefore is mine. And it's like, no, it's not. The business employed you to do something. You're just massively overpaying yourself for your worth because no one else would ever pay you that much money to do the thing you're doing. They wouldn't give you 100% of the revenue or whatever, the profit. And so then the small businesses get trapped because they're like, their lifestyle goes up. They have lifestyle creep, and then they need to make more money to serve the new car they bought because the business is going so well. But really they're using the business's money. The business should have been investing in marketing and people and systems and innovation, right? So that it could grow, so that you can have a pay review at the end of the year and maybe get a bonus or a salary increase because you've been good to the business. Because if I went and worked for Google and I did stuff like, I don't get billions of dollars in salary. That's ridiculous, right? But for a small business that's doing 10, 20, 50,000 a month, and it's predominantly you producing it, it's very easy to be like, oh, that's my money. It's like, it's not. And it took me way too long to realize. And I think it affects a lot of people because we just don't get the education to understand what we're really doing. And for most of us, we're trying to trade our time spent at a job for time spent into a business, and it just be balanced. Like, how many people do you hear saying, I started a business because I wanted to control my hours and, have more? It's like, you are delusional because you need to work your job and then go home and say, sorry, kids, and then work your business. Yeah. And then you need to grow this thing so that it can pay you to not have to work. I noticed that when I was transitioning out of practice, I said to Delcy, hey, if I can make $100,000, can I quit being in practice with this online consulting advisory that we're doing? And she said, yeah, sure. 2 months, I made $100,000 cash at like a 90% margin. And I said, can I quit? And she's like, no. And then I just started, kept going, got to $100,000 a month, and then just stopped showing up to practice anymore. And she found out because the assistants were like, oh, where's James? And she said, what do you mean? And it was because economically it was costing me money staying employed over there, and I need to be employed over here. But I fell into the same trap of, I made that money instead of pay yourself the least that you can to afford your lifestyle, reinvest in the business, because you're not building a business for money now, because then you'll have to work forever. You're building a business to be an asset that you are paid not because of your time, number one. And number two is something that's then sellable, that you can actually get cashed out at the end. And so over the last few years has been a big change for me in how I do those things. But yeah, I think it's funny. Yeah, we try and pay ourselves too much,
But that is so true. And I love the fact that you mentioned that, because that's another thing we see a lot of business owners, like they take either they pay themselves or they do distributions. So they take the blood, the oxygen out of the business. That's that money that I just was talking about. This money is for you to take advantage of the power that it can give you. And as an owner who probably is creative and has different ideas, you can use this cash to do something, not just to keep it in your pocket, to do something with it, to generate even more money. And then pick a portion of it. It depends where you are in the stage of your business and the stage of your life and how much cash you need and all of that. What percentage of it you can decide, what percentage of it can I put in my pocket and pay yourself, if it's the beginning, maybe the least amount possible, because then you grow faster. If it's later on, okay, maybe higher amount. And the second thing I would say, based on what you just said, and it's so correct, is how can you replace yourself with someone who would do similar things to you to add value to the business, but will get paid less. So if you want to pay yourself, like, let's say $600 an hour, but maybe you can hire somebody with similar background that can do the work, the manual work, the time-consuming work, with maybe $200, hire them, and that $400 is a saving for the business instead of paying yourself. And now you can use that to do something else, because you now have more time and basically more money to use that to do something to generate even more than the 600 for yourself, not only for the business, but also for yourself.
And what I think is really important caveat to that for anyone who's not a business owner hearing this and going, oh my gosh, these business owners are trying to pay people less. The truth is that what we're trying to do in a business is disproportionately outproduce our costs. And the only reason that anyone has a job is because someone took a risk and bet their 5 years of their life, capital, blood, sweat, tears, etc., their name to produce something so that someone can be employed in it. And without people taking that risk, there would be no jobs, and would all be forced to be entrepreneurs to try and figure these things out. And we wouldn't get no holiday pay, we'd get no sick leave, we'd get no, maternity leave, etc. And so that's the first thing that I want to say there. The second thing is the way that you do what you just said is not to find someone who you can just pay less. It's to build systems and bring in technologies that allow a person to operate at that level without having necessarily the skill set or experience or name where we have to pay for that. Like if I need a PhD to do my bookkeeping, it's going to cost me more money than having QuickBooks and someone just payment matching. You know what I mean? Or just using the AI that does the payment matching for them and just saying yes. You get what I'm saying? So, and I know that you know this, but for our audience, right? It's like the technology means that you can get the same outcome with less input. Yeah. And because what you're really trying to pay for is the result. We're not trying to pay people as much as we're trying to pay people so that they stay with us for a long time. The reason salaries go up is because I want them to stay with me, because it's more expensive if they don't and I have to rehire and retrain and whatever. Not because I'm necessarily wanting to pay more. Like if my software subscription, I had to keep paying my software subscription more and then giving it holidays and things like that. Like I'd get a new software, but we can't do that with people because we like our people, but also pragmatically in the business, we need to keep our people. And so we develop the employee benefit packages and things to keep our people, because that's expensive to replace them, especially when they're productive. So I just wanted to kind of like cover that entirely, because what you can do is you can look at anything that you're doing and you can say, what would make this more predictable? What would make this more repeatable? What would I have to do if I was to get somebody else to do this? Well, I'd have to document how to do it, building SOPs. I'd have to, this bit is, I just really know it though. So like, how do I get that knowledge across them? Well, you can develop a training program. These days you could impart that knowledge into an AI and build that into the system. So for example, for me, if I'm wanting to coach salespeople, I can spend time listening to all of their calls and then formulate a response and then go and tell them about it. Or I can build an AI, offer the same knowledge to the same effort, but now it's scalable. So I've got the effort once locked into a system like you did with your platform. And then everything comes in and goes out and I get the same outcome, but with less effort in, and therefore the cost is lower. So that's the way that we all need to be thinking about it, which is why I said before, like profit process people. You can't just make money and then hire people. You have to make sure that you build systems to document so that people can operate that, freeing your time up to solve bigger problems, and you continue to do that. And you said something about the cash that I wanted to ask you more questions on. Yeah. I'm looking at business and I'm saying the business needs cash to operate. You can make money by selling stuff and you can get people to pay up front. So you get tomorrow's money today, but you can also get external capital via investors, but then you're giving away some of your business, or loans where you have to pay it back with an interest. Have I forgotten anything and other ways of getting capital? Aunties and uncles who just want to give you money for free. Mum and dad just want to give you money, I guess. But your job as a business owner is to bring vision and strategy to the capital. Yeah. So when I go and sell a service and I make some money and the money comes in, I now have to decide where that's going to go. That's going to bring me more money. And when I have the money, I've got to be able to convince the people to follow me, because people won't stay just because they're getting paid well, because people are not motivated by money as much as they think they are. Because if they were, they'll just work harder at stuff, that hustle on the side, that sell things on TikTok. They're not motivated by money. They're motivated to have their lifestyle met. And then beyond that, it's community. It's a sense of organization. It's people. It's vision. So we are there as a business leader to bring vision to the business and vision to the capital specifically, and strategy to that capital. Because if we can do those things, then people will follow us and we'll be able to bring in more capital. Like you think about like OpenAI and whatever, they don't make any money. They're just convincing the next person to give more money to buy into something that hopefully will be profitable later. Facebook didn't make money for ages. And these are massive companies. And you and I are worried about our small companies. And it's like, man, these guys are hustling billions of dollars on an idea. Oh. So how can we bring more of that to our business, to our customers, to our teams, to potential investors? I'd love to hear your thoughts around that principle of bringing vision and strategy to capital, to the business.
I love that. And I love how you talked about these big companies and then how we think about our companies and thinking about the capital and everything. There was a part that you said, people are not motivated by money. I would say it depends if like where they are just at the beginning for some. So for example, like a few years ago, I remember it was like 75,000. And I think recently that number went to like about 100,000. Like that when you're before that, you actually are motivated by money and you might actually go to work some places to make that happen. But after that, when you reach that point, then all of a sudden, yes, it's not the money itself. It's the culture, how you feel, and what's the vision of this business and what you're doing, and how much I really feel that I'm part of something bigger, and not only the quality of my life, but also what we do as a business together is gonna change, the quality of life of the other people, around us. So I think the vision itself, when the first needs are met, can be a huge driver for the employees and everybody to just, push themselves and do things. I see that in my business with my team. I love them so much because they're just mind-blowingly good. They're not only experts, but I have to push them to, make sure that they take care of themselves, eat, drink, exercise, and all of that, because sometimes they really forget. They sit and work and, constantly do that. And I think it comes from, what we do as the leaders and what we really, truly believe deep inside of us and how involved we make them in the business, and know that they are really part of the business. They're very important in the business. I mean, this is how I look at it. From just if I want to talk about the employees as capital, because they are also capital other than the cash. And the cash side, kind of, to be honest, part of it I feel like can be a game. I just came back from going to some tech events in San Francisco Bay Area. And it was a different vibe. I mean, me being Southern California and going to Northern California, like the vibe is really different. We're more chill here compared to people in Bay Area. I saw how they're just working so hard to save milliseconds. And it was a go, go, go. And if I want to be honest, I kind of felt like they are working so hard to replace themselves with technology. So it was a little bit maybe sad to watch. I don't know. It was hard to see. Although I love creating, I absolutely believe in creating processes and systems. But I think we can just have fun in the process.
It comes down to what your goal is, right? Like if you're saying that I want to build a business and be successful and make lots of money and, help a lot of people, then you have to optimize. If you're doing it because you want to enjoy what you're doing, then do that. But then you can't feel bad about not reaching your business potential. It's like the same thing with like, if you're wanting to reach the business potential, but which requires you to optimize and sacrifice, you then have to be careful of complaining that you don't have any time, because it's like, well, you chose this. And I think that as a business owner, you've got to understand what your values are so that you can live that. Because too many people say, I wish I had what you had and blah, 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 blah. And you go, well, then do what I do. And you go, I don't want to do that. Shit. That's why you don't have a six pack. That's why you don't have a nice marriage. That's why you don't have, a loving relationship with your kids, because you're not willing to do the things necessary to create that outcome. And so we have to not look at what others are doing and go, what do we want to be doing, and be driven by that, because then we will be fulfilled. Like if I want to really get my product out there because I believe in it and it's going to change lives or whatever, then what does that really mean though when I say I want to get it out there? Because if I want to get it out there to the world, that's a big ask from the universe. That's you saying, hey, God, I want to do this massive thing. And he's going to turn around and say, cool, then what are you going to give? Because you can't have Friday night football afternoon, picking up the kids from school every day, doing all these things. And anyone who says that you can, I don't think is being entirely truthful, because maybe they're at a different season in their life where the business is already at a certain point, or maybe they have capital that you don't have access to. But then maybe their impact is being heavily restricted. Like you can't be the world's first trillionaire like Elon and go to Mars and solve all these problems and do all these big things, and then also be the most present father, the most present husband, the most present with your friends, the most balanced person. You have to be obsessed. So you can't look at him and go, well, it's unfair what he's got. It's like, no, it's unfair what he's doing. You cannot compete with that because you're not willing to sacrifice those things that they've sacrificed. And vice versa. Like if I want to be, really fit, really healthy, really well slept, really connected to myself, probably don't have children because they're going to disrupt your sleep. Probably don't have a spouse because they're going to want stuff and they want to go and do things and go on dates and whatever. Probably don't have a business. Don't maybe pursue money that much because that's going to distract you and you're going to get a phone call in the night or when you're at the gym. And like, what are you optimizing for becomes the question. Why are you optimizing for that? And then live with the consequences, because too many of us attach our personal value and our identity to things that we're not willing to actually do what's necessary to get there. It's like, I like the idea of it more than I like the work required to get it, which is often why we don't have things. Like you would have a really, be really strong or really fit if it mattered to you. Because if I put a gun to your head, you're probably going to move. You know what I mean? If I set your house on fire, you're probably going to get outside. So it's like you maybe don't have enough reasons, or it starts with, for me, it starts with clarity. You don't have enough clarity of what you want, and then you don't have enough reasons to go and get it. Because too many of us are trying to play that game of like, enjoy my business and then cry about the fact that I don't have any money. And it's like, well, maybe it's because you need to enjoy your business less. You got to hustle more. You got to do more work. You got to innovate, market to get to a different stage. And then you can, like the season that I'm in right now, I could be doing a lot more. I could live in one place and I could just like head down and do work, but that doesn't serve me. So I'm sacrificing certain verticals in exchange for others, but I'm cognizant of that. And so therefore I'm not as affected by the identity judgment of like, I should be doing more or whatever. You get what I mean? And I try and advise business owners a lot on that.
And I absolutely agree with what you said. And I actually see it very often that actually people pretend. And that I hate that when people pretend that, because like having a balanced life and, making money and having a successful business and all of that, like come on. And then because I see numbers, like I also see the reality. So with me, normally people, and I don't judge, and I'm like, if you really want to solve this, we need to look at the real data. We can't just say, oh, I'm very profitable. It happened actually. I hope that person watches this podcast because, there was a CEO of a company that I was like so pissed at afterwards because he was like, yeah, I actually know all the numbers and I look at our income statement and I don't need to look at anything else. And I know exactly what happened in our business. I was like, that's great. Can you tell me how you do that? And then he was like, well, I kind of lie, I guess. Yeah, I don't actually know what I'm looking. And I'm like, and he was like, bottom line, he said, I know if I do more marketing and I sell more, we're good. I was like, no, we're good. What do you mean? Yes, you make more money, but that doesn't mean you're good. That doesn't mean you're going to break even because they were losing money currently and they're a big company. Okay, that's not the goal to get to break even. You need to be profitable. You need to have cash. You need to increase that. You need to grow that. It's a business. It's not like we're just trying not to drown. That's not the goal. So absolutely. But I have a question for you, James, because I love what you said and I totally agree with it. But I have an issue, I have a challenge with myself understanding what is enough. I work really hard. Like everything we have, me and my husband, we worked and we made it happen. As I said at the beginning of this conversation, I came to the US with only $15,000 money and I had to buy a car because I had to find a job. So I had to pay $10K of that $15K. Then I had no credit history because I came from Iran. So I had to put $1,000 in Bank of America to give me a secured credit card. I only had $4,000 left. Okay. So that's why when I said, when I went to UPW for the first time, right before that, we bought our first house. I moved here 2013. And, my husband moved here end of 2014. And in a very short period of time, we really worked so hard. We did everything we could. We did everything when we knew that is correct. And then it started investing on ourselves, which was a better investment even than the house and itself and stuff like that, stock market and stuff like that. And we grew. And then that showed me that if I can do it, anybody else can do it. That's what made me very passionate about helping other people make more money. Because if me, with English being my second language, with just $15,000 coming to a different country, and it was hard for me to speak English. I couldn't speak fluently. I had to think everything in Farsi and then translate it to English. If I can make it happen, anybody else can do it. You have to hustle. If you're just sitting, trying to have a balanced life, sure, have a balanced life with nothing. But then another side of it is okay, where is enough? How do I really calculate?
Quite simply, the answer, if I can cut you off there, the answer is it's never enough if you're measuring by enough as a unit, because now you can always have more stuff. You can always buy more things. It can always be nicer. So that you have to detach from enough being a measurable unit of ownership or money. The answer is, what are you driven and fulfilled by as you spend your time waiting for death? That's what we're all doing when we live our lives. We're waiting for death and we're trying to extend our lives so that is longer. Why would we want to extend our lives for longer? Because we have a drive to help others. We have a drive to feel connected and have experiences and leave a legacy and grow and love and all of that. And so if you focus your enoughness on filling your life with meaningful experience, meaningful growth, and you're not attached to how much you make, but how much you do, or how much you impact. Honestly, not just saying, oh, I want to impact people. Everybody says that, but then they don't do anything about it. It's actually tying your success to the impact. Then the money will follow, because as Tony Robbins says, business is a spiritual game, and the one who creates the most amount of value wins. And so if your business is focused on value creation, you will feel fulfilled by your work, and you won't be measuring it based off of what you got. So it won't feel as empty. That's my take. Because how much is enough? You probably have enough right now if you just stop working and just lived off 10K a month and put everything into the S&P 500 and then just shut up about it. You know what I mean? You're probably close to that point and you can just live really nice. And if you live in a van, you'll need even less than that, right? Go live in a van. You know what I mean? It's so the answer is not how much, because every time you keep growing, you'll have a creep of lifestyle and a creep of feeling. You'll go business class and then you'll be like, yeah, I can't go to economy anymore. And so now you have to go business class and now you have to make this money to cover it because now you want to go to Europe. And so now you're going to need this. You know what I mean? Like it's always just creeping up. And so for me, I look at it, and I haven't by any means mastered this, but for me, I look at it as what do I actually need and what do I want? And those are two separate things. Why do I want that thing? And how can I attach that to impact-based achievement? Because that's still a human thing to go after stuff. You want to have nice things. I got this idea of like living on a boat and traveling the world and having this beautiful boat. So I'm like looking at the boats, I'm understanding the boats, I'm knowing how they work, I'm getting all into it. Not for anything more than it's now a nice, shiny object in the future, but I tie my identity to the impact and I understand that I'm fulfilled by the impact that I'm having. So there is never a feeling of, is this enough? Have I helped enough children with LearnSpark? It's like, that's an arrogant question. Like, no, I haven't. Are there still children? Yes. So then there's still children. How? So it's like now my identity is tied to that thing, which I could never get tired of is my thesis here, because it's driven more than me. As Tony says, like you're unhappy because you're focusing on yourself. And people will say, well, you need to improve my mental health needs help. It's like, yeah, the fact that you are trying to fix your mental health for you is why there's a problem. You're trying to fix your health for you is why there's a problem. If you focus on others, like your children need a father in my case, therefore my mental health is important so that I can be the father that they need. I will get off my ass and do it. If my health needs to improve for my children, then I'm thinking about them. I'm not getting healthy for me. I'm getting healthy for them. I'm getting, whatever. That's what's sustainable. So if your business is tied to impact and you stop measuring what am I getting out of it, you'll have more drive to do it. And you'll feel less of that yuck feeling of how much is enough. And you'll worry less about what you have, because you'll understand that what you have is a direct consequence of your focus on everyone else and how you're creating impact. That's why Tony Robbins can have all these watches and cars and whatever, because he's not thinking about what do I get out of it. He needs a plane so he can go around to 200 destinations a year. You know what I mean? And he has a nice watch because he's also just saved a whole lot of people in Africa or whatever. So it's kind of like there's a balance there in his soul. So we don't feel bad about that thing. We don't attach it to like, I'm making more for me. And therefore because there's a guilt. That's why you're saying, when is it enough? Because you hit your guilt threshold. There's a personal guilt threshold. When is enough? Compared to what? Why not just keep going? Because some part of you doesn't feel connected to that. Because some part of you is disconnected from just acquiring stuff. Because the hunger got you to where you are, but the hunger for more for you is not going to get you to that next place. It needs to be bigger than that. A bigger reason why that is outside of you. Children's a really good example of that. For me, with kids, has connected me to things that have then meant that I'm now connected to my community at a wider basis. I'm more connected to the suffering of kids and families and things like that. So there's a bigger draw now because I've expanded because of that. So that's what I'd be saying. In short, reasons outside of yourself that are impact related, that you feel strongly for, that your business becomes a vehicle to support and fund. Because having money is not bad, but having money for the sake of money is not helping anybody. God hasn't figured out a way for us to take it with us. Right? So it's like, make lots, because no one without money has ever helped anybody in the same way. Like even Mother Teresa needed donors. She needed money. So be able to command capital either through your own venture or being able to sell the vision to get others to give it to you. But someone had to make it to be able to give it. And so if we can make it and then we can apply it to something meaningful, we don't have that guilt feeling of like, is this enough? Because it's never enough then. And the trail wins is just your lifestyle. I don't know. Those are my 2 cents.
No, I love that. Thank you. Because the moment you said, why do you do what you do? And then I was like, impact. And, it is that. I guess sometimes it's like, okay, like how much work, how much effort do I need to put in? I love helping others. Like this is what gives me so much energy. People who know me, they always tell me like, you have so much energy. It's because if I help people, I actually have more energy. So like, it's a great thing to have. Sometimes because also at the same time, maybe because I'm also a woman, I get this that, oh, you work so hard, like you do this to do that. And then I'm like, okay, I really don't have a measure. And I love the fact that you said don't measure it, because maybe my financial background tries to measure everything. So I wanted to measure the enough part, but
Also, don't listen to the advice of people whose results you don't want to have. Who's telling you work so hard? As someone who doesn't probably work very hard, And then they probably don't have certain things that you value. They have the things that they value. And they're trying to help you. Their intention is good because they're trying to say to you, hey, I value this. You should value it too, because they have no other context. But if they don't have the result that you want, then I wouldn't be listening to their advice. I'd be like, I appreciate your intention behind what you're giving me, but no, it's like, don't listen to your divorced friend about how to have a good marriage. Divorced. Listen to what they did and don't do that. Don't listen to your overweight friend about how to be fit and healthy. You eat too many salads and like work out, like come and have some cake. It's like, no, I appreciate that. You value that. I know judgment, but that's just not the result that I want in my life. So that's what I've learned to do too, is they have no context on what I'm doing. I have not asked for advice. Therefore, their opinion does not matter. It's like going to the comment sections on Facebook and expecting good advice. The intention, especially if it's a loving person in your life, the intention's good. You have to take it just because it's good intentioned advice, because it could be terrible advice. How many times have business owners been given terrible advice by someone that loves them? The person who gave it to them had no idea what they were doing. And so the most harm can often come from good intentioned advice that is just way off reality, And our parents, the first case of that. I'm cognizant of that with my kids. And, then it's our friends, our spouse, right? So yeah, link it to your thing. And then the last thing I'd say is around impact is I wouldn't go after impact as like, again, a unit measure. I would be like being a lot more specific. What does impact mean specifically that I'm doing? Because then it's actually measurable. Just like in a business when they say, look how much revenue we're producing. And it's like, yeah, but you're losing $1 billion a year. So you don't actually have a good business. You have a good pyramid scheme. Like you got something, but it's not a good business because it's not making any money. It's not self-sustaining. It's still just an idea that people believe in. That's why they keep giving you money. The moment they don't believe it anymore, no one's going to give you any money. And therefore you can't sustain. WeWork. What's that? I watched the story about WeWork. That's a good example of that, right? I'll eventually get profit. It's like, well, that never happened, right? So yeah, I would say pick the actual metric that matters to you. If that is much, how much money your clients made, or is that how many people got to make more money, or is that, how many people you got out of poverty somehow, or like, what is the meaningful thing that you're attached to that gives you a reason to get up and I must do it? Like we're at the moment in works to set up some schools in Liberia and have LearnSpark be a part of that, and some orphanages. I think they're in Uganda, where they're going to use LearnSpark for educating the kids. That gets me out of bed and keeps me up late at night to make sure the platform can deliver on that. And make sure that we have the infrastructures to be able to support sponsorship so that we can receive the money that's going to then be able to be distributed so that for platform usage in these areas. That makes me no money. That will keep me up though to fix it because I'm connected to it. And so when someone says, why are you working so hard? And you go, I've got 1,000 kids in Africa that I'm trying to help, they'll shut up real quick. It's okay. And if they don't, it's like, it's an indicator of maybe I should really not listen to them. You know what I mean? Exactly. Because it's more than just, did I get a nice car or did I go on holiday? Yeah. Well, I'd love to know where our audience can connect with you, find out more about what you're up to, check out your software and any content and things that you have.
Yeah, for sure. So do you want to know more about the software?
Yeah, but give the audience an idea of where they can go and check out more about you.
Okay, got it. So so it's called Capitalista Lab. And if you go to thecapitalista.com, you can see, all about the Capitalista and what we do. And then there are some demos. If you like to see if we can help you with your business, we do a financial health check. We, if you qualify for the things we can help you, we'll tell you. And if we don't save you over $50,000, you don't pay. Easy decision, I guess, because I guess the minimum we helped a client has been 200,000. So I think 50,000 is a, very, very safe number for us as well. So, and I'm everywhere on Instagram. Other than the Capitalista, I have Rosha the Fireworker because that was my first identity. Just kept it that way. I'm active. I have a podcast, daily podcast. It's only 1 minute. It's called Good Morning Money. And we have daily tips on money. It's just, what I'm focused on to help people with.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you. And I'm excited to extract insights out from the episode for the audience with our protocols. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
That's this week's Protocol 1. If you want to know exactly where you stand across all 6 vectors, take the free assessment at 6vectorassessment.com. It takes 5 minutes. The truth takes less. Don't settle.